must be lucky to draw, and their birth station.
Hello, Wayne Garrett. Again, for me, reflecting back to the play, it made me think of my first day of incarceration. I went to prison at 19, actually 7 days before I turned 19 for armed robbery. And speaking about laying on that cold floor, being in a cell. It's in an older prison, and I remember at certain times I like to go out and might not be quite ready to sleep because you just have all these thoughts going on. You're playing your life over and over, you're playing the crime over and over. You could have did this, my childhood should have went different, blah, blah, blah. And the ways that I felt kept my sanity was to writing. I spent a lot of time on the cold floor because that was the only way I could gain access to the light from outside the cell. So a lot of nights spent reflecting. I think the word is for is catharsis. It was real cathartic of me to write a lot, to filter through my thoughts, and just get my mind right. But what kept me positive, again, reflecting back to that, was as she thought about the journey and trying to find one good one. I was just trying to find a glimmer of hope within myself to keep me going forward instead of keep spiraling. When you're in type that environment, you're so young and impressionable, it's so easy to get caught up in the pessimistic view of the prison life. You can just get worse and worse, and you can return back into society as a worse version of yourself. In closing, tying it up for me, in a biblical sense, is I wanted that prodigal son moment for myself. I wanted to return back, be that returning citizen, and just be accepted with open arms and just have my life back and have my past be the past and just look forward to a better future.
My name is Barrett Johnson. I think that one of the things that I think about from the play and in my own experiences of being incarcerated, I've been home now for 11 years, a little bit over actually 11 years, after serving a ton of time in federal prison. And one of the things that I think about is how when you're inside and comparing it to the play and her experience is how violence becomes commonplace, how it becomes natural, right? And I think that when you first get there, you experience the violence and you're shocked. You're shocked by it because it's something that you're not used to, something you're not, willing to even accept. With so many people around you, that becomes the environment that they've been ingrained in them for all these years. And thinking about how, for me, during that first year of seeing so much violence and being so surprised by everyone's reactions, and then fast forward, 7 or 8 years later, and then I'm in the same position. And I feel like I become, part of that same environment where I felt like the violence was commonplace. And thinking about, how she was talking about, she saw death right in front of her, and the trains, and she knows what was going on, and the acceptance of that without like any real thought to the horror of actually what's going on. And I thought about, as the play was going on, I thought about my own experiences of being inside and just how that was the daily activity, and then you get up in the morning and then you go back to doing the normal routine again. Also those moments of awareness of where you are, right? I think that you become accustomed, as she was talking about the barbed wire and being around the barbed wire and just noticing it and noticing the beauty of a place, right? I think that once you become accepted to it, then you start to see the positives in it, of what's happening there. And then you do have these moments of clarity, and they are extreme. When they come to you, they're extreme because it becomes home. It becomes your home. It becomes what you're doing, and it becomes, me calling my mother and talking to her and having those conversations with her once a week just became my normal routine. Having a conversation with her daily didn't seem right, because that wasn't part of the structure. That wasn't part of what we were doing. It was the routine to talk to her once a week. It was routine for her to come visit once a month, right? So to see your mother, right, the person that gave birth to you, and to only be able to see her once a month and be okay with that, speaks volumes to how natural that environment became for me and for others, right? Because there were other people around that felt like that was a blessing, right? To have that happen where your mom's coming once a month. And to me, it's like, well, I want to see her every day, right? This is my mother, so I should be able to see her every day, but you can't. And then you have these moments when you do wake up in the morning after the days of watching sports and becoming part of, everything ingrained in what's going on in there. And then one day you wake up in the morning and you're like, this is prison. Like, this is where I am, and this is where I'm going to be for a very long time. And when you have those extreme moments of clarity, it also hits you that you may not make it out of there. And that hits hard. That hits hard. And to see, the people that exit, and it becomes this rotating door for people who come back, who say, I'm never coming back, and then they do come back, within a very short period of time. While you're inside, it makes you wonder, what is actually out there? What is out there for me if people that are in here and they're leaving and saying, I'll never come back, and they do return? It's scary, And it may not be to the extreme of the train, right? But it feels that way in some way, that something's out there that people don't want to be involved in. So they keep coming back here to where their comfort levels are. And to not being able to be comfortable with freedom is scary. That's scary. That's scary when people come back and you know what they're going through inside, and they continue to do it, and it makes you wonder, well, then what's out here for me? That's a scary thought for people. So.
Good evening, everyone.